welcome to this conference hosted by MS Focus, the Multiple Sclerosis Foundation. I'm your host, Deborah Foreman, the Educational Programs Coordinator for MS Focus, and I'm joined by Andrea and Emily Blossberg, who along with Allison and Kate will be discussing high school graduation and transitioning to college with MS. After the discussion, we'll open it up to all of your questions and comments. And now I'd like to introduce Emily and Andrea from Mr. Oscar Monkey. Emily Blossberg is an MS patient and founder of Mr. Oscar Monkey, a pediatric MS organization that was founded with the vision to help reduce the life-changing realities of pediatric MS by providing age-appropriate resources, advocacy, and community. Emily was diagnosed with MS when she was 15 years old, though her symptoms started at a younger age. Emily is well aware of the challenges that MS presents to someone so young and has committed herself to her advocacy for pediatric MS, finding ways for kids and teens to connect and network across the US and the world, and supporting the pediatric MS community, so no one has to feel the loneliness that she felt. Andrea Blossberg, Emily's mom, is no stranger to the MS world. Andrea's husband, Dean, was diagnosed with MS in 1998, and Emily was then diagnosed 13 years later. Andrea has been a caregiver for not only one, but two family members living with MS. Through Mr. Oscar Monkey, Andrea shares advice for other parents, assists in facilitating education and community building programs, and helps with the day-to-day operations of the organization. Andrea has a unique perspective, being a caregiver to an adult MS patient, as well as a pediatric MS patient. She attends every appointment with Dean and Emily to stay informed and ensure she is providing the best support possible. We're pleased to have them join us to talk about this important topic. So Emily and Andrea, thank you for being with us, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So we are joined today by Kate and Allison, and you guys were both diagnosed with MS as teenagers. And you both just finished your freshman year of college, right?
Yes.
Yay.
Yep.
So this is all about hearing your transition from high school to college and what this last year has been for you. So let's start by asking, where are you going to school and what are you studying? Let's start with Allison.
I'm Allison. I go to St. John Fisher University. It's in Rochester, New York, and I am studying nursing at the moment.
And Kate, where are you in school?
I'm Kate. I'm going to Kutztown University, and I'm studying visual impairment education and special education. Yeah.
Wonderful. You guys are so smart.
I try.
Now, did you have a question you were going to ask?
Go ahead.
Are both of you taking a full load of classes as college students?
As of right now, I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
Same
about Kate.
Same here. Yeah.
How did that go for your first year?
For me, it started off pretty good. Towards the end of the year, it got a little bit overwhelming, but I know that if I need to revise it, I can. But it's manageable. It's not like high school where like you have breaks in between.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a lot easier.
Yeah, I definitely agree with like the breaks and such. At first, I think it was a bit much. I am a nursing major, so I take a lot of science-based courses.
Sure.
So that was kind of challenging at first, but I think that as the year went on and I kind of figured it out a little more, it definitely got easier to manage for sure. And the breaks in between, I mean, high school, it's back-to-back classes, and college is very nice. Like I got to, go and take a little nap or something in between, which was very helpful.
Definitely. How did you, if we can take a step back, how did you choose your college or your plans for college or plans after high school? What was it that attracted you to the schools where you ended up?
Well, Kutztown is one of 6 schools in the United States that has a visual impairment education like
Okay.
major. So my options were pretty limited,
Yeah.
but the reason I went with Kutztown is when I was on campus, I really liked how accessible the campus was, because this was at a point, maybe a year post diagnosis. I wasn't really sure. I hadn't really learned how my MS really affected me as well as I know now, and there were a lot of uncertainties. So it was just nice to see that I was going to be able to be all right if one day I like wasn't able to get around the same way that I do right now.
Perfect. How about you,
Yeah.
Allison?
I think that I think that at first I had a vision of like I was going to go to this huge, well-known college somewhere, and that's kind of what I went in with. But I kind of looked at it a few different ways, like different ways, and I decided that I think that a smaller campus was better for me, in terms of getting like the accommodations that I would want.
Mhm.
I was told by a lot of people that a smaller campus, they call it the Office of Accessibility, where I am, um, is very, like, I get to know people better. I think that also a smaller campus allows me to get to know my professors better and have like a connection with them, which I think was very important for me, especially with MS. If I had an issue with something, I was definitely able to go up to them personally and they knew who I was. And I was able to communicate with them what I needed. So, looking for a small campus like that, I think, drew me to where I am now.
Perfect.
I remember when I was looking at different colleges, we toured several.
Yes.
And one of the first things we did before we even went on the tour, or like the, you know, the
The-
freshman welcome
Rah,
things,
Mhm.
we went straight to the disability services and
Yeah.
said, how can we make this work? And there were actually several that we eliminated from the
Yep.
list of colleges that I was interested in based on how accessible the services would be. There,
Yeah.
I remember one, it was like it was gonna be like taking a 4-credit course just to get
Yeah.
accommodations.
Just to do paperwork
Mhm.
for it.
Yeah.
It was going to be way too
Mhm.
much.
So I didn't even apply to that one.
No, which was too
Yeah.
bad because they had all the offerings that she wanted, and it would have been really nice close to home, but far enough away. But yeah, they just weren't able to offer what we needed. So
So Allison, you mentioned you have been working with ability, what did you call it? Accessibility?
yeah.
Office of Accessibility. It's kind of a mouthful sometimes.
So do you have certain accommodations in place?
I do. I actually have the list right here.
Oh, you're so
Um,
prepared.
I know.
That's the Allison I know.
So I know. I tried. Um, some of like the things that I have found especially useful in college, I think that the number one that I learned like throughout the year was getting priority scheduling. Um, mainly for, so I mean, I mainly asked for it because I wanted to schedule my classes not too early in the day because I have a major issue with fatigue. So I didn't want my classes to be all 8 a.m.s. And then I also didn't want my classes to be all night classes. So that was definitely very helpful for me because I had first pick. I was in like the very first wave of people who got to choose their classes, which isn't typical for a freshman. Most colleges go based off of the number of credits that you have. So that was extremely helpful. And I think that that also helped with managing my full class load last semester. It was definitely more manageable that I got to pick and choose what times my classes were at. So that was a huge one for me. I don't know what Kate has to say about
Um,
that.
I'm really sorry. Can you repeat the question?
What do you have any accommodations in place as a college student?
I do. we had been in contact with the DSO long before my school calls it the Disability Services Office.
Yeah.
Um, it's different for a lot of
Mhm.
schools, I've realized.
Yep.
But I also have Tourette syndrome, so I also have my list here. So a lot of these are not related to multiple sclerosis, but some that I like highlighted, I have a lot of cognitive symptoms, so I'm allowed to I have a note taker one, which is really helpful. Someone in the class gets paid to take notes and then they submit them online. And then two, I'm able to record lectures, which again, cognitive symptoms, that really helps.
Yeah.
Just memory wise, I'm always able to go back in the lecture, figure out what I like need to do. I feel like that really like it really saved me during finals. Another one that I have is priority housing. Um, I um, I'm going to school in Pennsylvania, and it's not like crazy hot all the time, but in the like early semester and late semester, it gets really hot. So with that comes more fatigue and just more symptoms. So I knew that it was going to be easier if I didn't have to like climb stairs or just generally the ground floor is a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, same for me. I completely forgot that one. I also have a bunch of house accommodations that I recently put into place. I have, I think, priority housing. So things, I have a room on the first floor. Um, Another big one for me at the beginning of the year is I have some temperature irregulation issues. So a lot of the rooms, your really freshman dorms do not have AC at all. So one of the things that I asked for was an air conditioning unit, which I got, which was extremely helpful because, like Kate, upstate New York, it's very cold, but in the beginning of the year, it's very, very hot. And
Yeah.
that was a huge issue at first, definitely. Yeah.
What was the process for getting these accommodations for each of you? If
Um,
thinking about seniors that just graduated and they're looking at starting their college journey, where should they start?
Office of Accessibility, Disability Office, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
That is the number one place to start. I met with somebody, the coordinator there, and we had a meeting. My mom was there as well, and we kind of pooled what I had from high school, and tried to see how many of those accommodations I could also get in college. And while I was there, she wrote up a letter of accommodation for me.
That's awesome. Did you find them helpful for you too, Kate?
Yes, definitely. I schedule a meeting with the DSO pretty much as soon as I submitted my deposit. And I remember meeting with them. They were super nice, and just generally we sat down, we worked through what was gonna be able to carry over to post-secondary education, what wasn't, and we modified it to like fit like a college environment, which I thought was very good because high school is very different.
Yeah, definitely. I had a question that I was gonna, and it's gone.
Well, it sounds like both of you had accommodations while you were in high school. Do you think that helped to be able to transfer those accommodations to college? Or I'm thinking of if there are people who don't have accommodations in high school, if it would be more challenging to get those accommodations put in place.
I don't think it's as challenging if you don't have accommodations already put in place as a high school student, because I mean, kind of like Kate said, it's a whole different ballpark in college. You basically start from scratch. So, I mean, I think that having like a little bit of a framework in high school was a little better in terms of like what I wanted to ask for. But anybody can get started. If you don't have accommodations in high school, you can pretty much request anything in college and they'll find a way to make it work.
So for our listeners, Emily mentioned that we had a couple of colleges that we eliminated pretty much right away. And I think, you know, if you go and you talk to these offices, you'll know if they're going to be able to help you and if the college is friendly to those who have different learning styles and learning needs. So just be persistent. Don't get locked in to your favorite campus without checking this out, because it really
It makes a difference.
it can make a huge difference. If they're not going to be able to be accommodating, then you're really not going to necessarily have the best college experience you could have. So as you have used some of the accommodations, I'm going to kind of veer us into your social lives. Have you been able to be involved in other, you know, extracurricular activities, or how have you gotten to know people on campus? Do you have roommates? Kind of tell us about your social life. Let's start with Kate.
All right, so I'll start off with my roommate situation. I'm in like a no, I'm not in a traditional dorm. I'm in a like a suite dorm because that's the only other building on campus that has, or a dorm building on campus that has air conditioning. So I'm with 3 other girls, and my roommate, the one that I share a room with, she also is there for. She also has priority housing because she has a guide dog, and yeah. So it's nice to like be able to have someone, you know, we're like completely different disabilities, but it's just nice to have someone to talk to about, hey, what do I need to do to get this accommodation? What do I need to do to take a test into like in the testing center? It's really nice to have someone to bounce off, bounce ideas off of, and all that.
Perfect.
As for like clubs and stuff, I started taking they have this like recreational dance thing on campus because I figured I had to get in some kind of physical activity.
Yeah.
And I was worried because the building that they practice in does not have air conditioning, and I get really awkward when telling people about my MS. But they were super understanding, and overall, just everyone's been really nice about it.
That's fun. So when you get to camp this year, if you're coming, I hope, we want to see some of your new moves.
All right, sweet.
Okay. How about you, Allison? Oh, it's
Because I thought that would be like the easiest way to make friends, I guess, because you're kind of put in there. So I did make a lot of friends through that connection.
Which connection was that?
then-
You cut out for a second there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had a roommate in the beginning of the
Okay.
year. So I made a lot of connections through
Yeah.
her. But then I also, one of my hobbies is volleyball. And so my school offers intramurals. So I joined that. So I met a lot of people through there. And then my school, at the beginning of the year, first semester, you're not allowed to pick and choose your classes. They kind of create the schedule for you. And so I found a lot of my friends that way because a lot of us had the same schedules.
Ah.
So yeah, so making a lot of connections like through my major was definitely a big one. And then clubs, I'm invested or involved in a little bit of those. There's so many different ones on campus. It's crazy. And then I also work on campus as well. So that I've also made many connections through.
Well, you are keeping busy. Oh my goodness.
I know, I am.
Both of you. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Now, Kate, you mentioned some hesitancy with sharing about your MS diagnosis with others on campus. How have you navigated that?
Honestly, I used to be really bad with telling people. I used to like just not tell people anything about like, hey, I have this. Just know that, and I would never do it because anytime I brought it up, it would be super awkward. But I feel like I got to a point where like I know what I need, and like I know what I need to get to like thrive, I guess. So if I have to tell someone that I have MS, which I usually do with most I any like sorry, my brain is spiraling out of control.
You're doing fine.
Thank you, thank you. um I just if I need to tell someone, I tell them. It's not like a matter of making other people uncomfortable. It's a matter of I need to tell you this because I might be doing this for some reason or this for some reason.
Yeah.
How about you, Allison?
I mean, at first I feel like I did, but that was kind of just because like I couldn't really avoid it. I was the only room on my floor in the building that had an air conditioner. So people started to ask questions
You were
and get
popular.
curious. I was very popular. There were people just coming in and out of my room on the hot days, and I mean that's also another way I
That's a
met
great,
people, but
great way to meet friends.
yeah, bribe them with the cold air.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. So I would tell them. I most people just don't know what it is though.
Yeah.
So I just tell them. Um, and if they want to learn more, I will definitely tell them and give them a little info on it. But most people are like, oh, okay, cool, and they just don't know what it is, and we just go along with life. So yeah, I'm not too worried about it.
Good.
Mhm.
Now, how far away are each of you from home when you're at school? What's the distance?
I'm about 3 hours, or 2.5, maybe 3. Um, but yeah, I didn't want to be too far, but wanted to be far enough.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I'm exactly 2.5 hours. That was another thing with picking a college is that I didn't want to be too far, but I didn't want to be too close either.
Uh-huh.
So it's like the perfect distance.
As you are both, 2-3 hours away from home, how have you, or how has that affected your independence with navigating your MS?
I
Hmm.
have gotten way more independent, I think. I'm basically making my own appointments and going to my appointments. Oh, that was another accommodation. I'm allowed to have my vehicle on campus.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so for those appointments, I established a little network of people up in Rochester. So I have a neurologist there. And at the beginning of the year, I was doing PTOT for fatigue issues. So I was making my appointments there and transporting myself. So I feel like I gained a lot of independence in that
Oh, yeah.
area.
Well, I just think of most college freshmen who are just trying to get up in time to go to class each day.
Yes. It
And
was definitely weird, like experiencing that, especially with a roommate who doesn't have any like medical like issues like that. It was weird. Seeing her just like stay there and do homework, and I'm like, oh, I'm off to PTOT. Like, I'll see you later. But you get used to it.
yeah. What about you, Kate?
I definitely this year was kind of the year that I like started to understand like how MS really affects me. So right now, where last year, whereas my mom did most of the talking at our appointments, or my appointments, um, I've taken control. My name is on everything now, and I'm picking. I like I schedule all my own appointments, and it's just a lot easier to like not have to get in contact with someone 3 hours away to make an appointment or and yeah, it's just a lot easier for sorry, I totally lost my train of thought.
I
No.
know we'll be digging into this topic a lot more in August. We're doing another webinar, specifically talking about that transition of
Yep.
pediatric to adult care and what that independence builds to be
Yeah.
as an older teenager.
And for the parents who may be listening to this, I can assure you that it is also an adjustment for parents. When your older teen starts taking over their own phone calls and communicating with the doctors, and they may or may not let you be in the loop. And thankfully, I have a daughter who allowed me to remain available for the doctor to speak with, and I go to appointments with her. But
Yeah, I need to convince my husband to come to more of my
yeah, it's time for him to take over from me now. But but it is an adjustment for parents as well. And I know Allison and Kate well enough to know that they have been gracious enough to ease their parents into this transition as well. So but just know that mom and dad, that yep, it's not just you, that every parent is going through that same kind of transition too. So
Are there certain things that you guys have found to be easier being away from home?
Hmm.
And on the flip side, or is there certain things that you've found to be harder?
I mean, going along with like the appointments kind of thing, ever since taking over scheduling my appointments, I'm definitely more in control. Um, before coming to college, sometimes I wouldn't know when I had appointments. And that was that was kind of a problem. But I mean, I love having the independence now because I know, okay, well, there goes my mom in the chat. um, yeah, I think that it's definitely easier to schedule things on my own, and I definitely know now when things are, and I think that that's easier. I think it's a little harder. Like Kate said, my mom used to talk a lot in my appointments. She kind of talked for me. So kind of like harder learning like what to tell the doctor, what to discuss with the doctor, like what's important, what's not. That kind of thing was a little harder, not having somebody next to you doing it the whole time. But I have my mom on the phone most times, so she'll chime in when she needs to. Yeah, I'd say that.
Kate, is there something you'd like to add to that?
I'm trying to think of something that was like not there wasn't like not much. A lot changed when I came to I started college, but like the one thing I remember like really being different was picking up prescriptions because I I don't have a car on campus because there are not enough parking spaces at all. And also my car is like 20 years old and probably would explode the second it gets into Pennsylvania. But the nearest pharmacy where I could pick up my prescriptions is like a 25-minute walk away. So I had to, and I wasn't about to walk 25 minutes. So I'd have to plan, hey, I know I have this at home. So when I come back on this weekend or this day or whatever, um, could I grab it and bring it back? And towards the end of the year, it got a little bit tight, but we made it. We made it. Yeah, I think um being on my own definitely one thing it made easier is like just kind of looking like it sets everything in front of you and goes like it gives you like a blank slate to like
Yeah.
organize yourself, I think. Yeah.
Well, it looks like Kate, you are back home. Allison, are you back home or are you still on campus?
I am back home.
Are back home. What is what is the best part about being back home? This is where you say, Mom, it's being by you.
I don't know.
I know. Sorry, Amy. We tried.
I mean, I would say the food. I miss the food so much here. Like the local places. I'm trying to think like in terms of the MS. I had like such a good college experience with my MS that like I am so eager to go back. I am counting down my days to go back. So I'm very, yeah. I don't know what to say. Kate, do
That's
you have anything?
I'm excited to get to work. I don't start work for another month, but I'm working at a summer camp for it's the Helen Diller uh Camp for the Blind. So I'm really excited to start there. Um, I guess I miss my family. And yeah, the food. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh. Yeah.
Let's see that.
It's bad.
You miss your pets?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I miss my dog so much. I used to
Okay.
FaceTime my mom, not for her, but for my dog a lot. And so that's definitely, yeah. I
Right.
think that, yeah, I know. Oh, yeah,
my
definitely my nuts.
I'm sorry.
No, go
Um,
for it.
so I take guitar lessons, and the guy comes here to do them because my brother takes drums. Um, and we would go on like Discord or whatever for our lessons. And sometimes like the dog that I watch, he would walk in the room and I would have to like stop everything I'm doing and like start like talking to him, just anything to get his attention. Yeah. Now I'm here. I can have his attention whenever I want.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
All right. So now you've had your first full year of school away from home, and you're well on your way. It sounds like you both had a great year. What are some things that you want to accomplish now before you graduate? That, like, are you planning to study abroad? Are you planning some internships? What are some ideas that you have for the next few years before you get to grab another diploma?
Mm.
Either of you can start. Just
All right. I'll start.
I can see the
Um,
wheels turning in both your brains. So
Yes.
I've been thinking about studying abroad a little bit. Um, I'm not sure if it's gonna happen. We'll see. But my school offers like a thing in Ireland, and I just thought that would be really nice. Um, of course, there's a lot of logistics that go into that, but it's still it sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know how that would work as an education major, but I guess that's a future problem.
Um, I think that I'm just very eager to start my clinicals.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really looked much into like internships and such. I did have a great year, but it was very challenging for me.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that as I'm getting through the years, I'll definitely think of more things to
Mhm.
do. But definitely starting my internships, my clinicals, I mean, I'm very excited about and very eager to do.
That's great.
I'm so glad to hear that because I know that was something that you were pretty nervous about as you were
Hmm.
applying for the nursing program. So I'm glad that it's turned into something of excitement instead of anxiety.
I know. Yeah.
Well, I also want to take a moment and mention that for anybody listening, college doesn't have to be 4 years.
No.
I actually recently had a college student come to me and very, very overwhelmed with everything going on at college. And I said to this person, I said, if you graduate in 4 years, I will be upset with you because that means that you were pushing yourself too hard. And I would much rather you focus on your health and use the accommodations that can be put into place. And some of that could even be a reduced class load. And you can still graduate in 5 or 6 years. There is no time frame other than what society tells us. So you don't have to stick to the norm. Create your own normal and make the education work for you instead of you working for the education.
And Emily actually got most of your college education online.
Yeah.
And so that's that's another option. that-
Before online was really a thing.
Yeah, it actually was. It was before 2020, so
Yeah.
you were groundbreaking.
Well, I found that to be a really great way of me getting my education because just like you two have mentioned, if fatigue is a hard thing.
Mhm.
So like classes in the morning, it was difficult to get to classes in the morning. Roommates, when I was looking at having just a single room because I knew that I would need extra time by myself to be able to get my schoolwork done. And there were just enough things that kind of piled up that we decided that no, I think online is a better way for me to get my degree. Because then I could kind of do it at my own pace. And a lot of it, I mean, most college students do this anyway, but a lot of it I could do from my bed. I think the bed
Yeah,
is
I do. That was
absolutely.
my favorite place to do things. You mentioned like a single room, and I mentioned how I had a roommate before. I did switch over to a single though, for semester 2 because I was kind of having the same issues. Like, I was recently also diagnosed with ADHD. So somebody always being there was always such a distraction, and I was having such a hard time managing how many classes I had and the schoolwork. So there was definitely times where I thought that maybe I should downsize it a little bit on the second semester or see if I can do some maybe like core classes online somewhere else so that they could transfer it. But I switched to a single and that was much better.
Good.
But that's something that I learned that I had to gauge, and everybody has to gauge. So it's really up to preference and that kind of thing.
well, it sounds like the accommodations are really you can change them throughout the school
Yeah,
year as you find things that
definitely. I've added so many different ones
Yeah.
as like I came up, like things came up, and um, if I thought that I needed something, I would go to the coordinator and just ask and see if I could do it.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Perfect. Do you, Kate, are you gonna stick with a roommate again for next year?
Yes, actually. All but one of my roommates from last year, we are getting like an apartment situation on campus. There's a 2-year residency requirement, so we have to stay on campus for this next year. But it's like we'll each have a single, but we'll have a common area and a kitchen, and it'll be really nice. I definitely feel like I'm definitely not extroverted, but having someone in the same room as me all the time, I guess it was nice to like talk to someone
Sure.
and like especially because like we have a lot in common and like we had to deal with all the like stuff on the same stuff on campus.
Yeah.
It was definitely nice. Yeah. It'll be nice to have that like my own like quiet like space too
Yeah.
for next week.
And Allison, I'm assuming that you're gonna go back to a single.
I am, yeah. It was very nice having someone to talk to, but my campus is so small that I know a bunch of people, so it's very easy
Yeah.
for me to I was able to just walk over to their dorm and it was okay for me. It's not okay for everybody, so it's just something you have to play around with a little bit.
Sure.
so much of college is learning what's going to work.
Well, and who you
Mhm.
are, what your needs are.
Yeah.
And that's really important that we learned that as well. That there really isn't a one size fits all. You know, each campus is different from every other campus, and then each student has their own needs. And you know, MS is only one of the issues that you may confront. There's just the whole issue of learning to be an adult. And with or without a chronic illness, that's a big task in itself. So it's not for everybody for sure, but there are ways to make it work. So we're just looking over our list of questions here that we
Deb, are there any questions in the chat?
Yep, we do have two. Before I go to those, can I just at least tell if there's anybody new here, how to do that, how they would put their question in. So, because we are ready for questions, if you have a question or comment, you can use, let's see, you can ask it using the Q&A button in the app, which also allows you to send your question anonymously if you'd like, or you can just ask your question live by raising your hand, not your hand, but raising the little hand in the app. And I'll call on you and then you can go ahead and speak it. So you have all kinds of choices. We do have a couple. So of course, I believe it was Allison's mom, Amy, yeah, who said, I can attest it's a huge adjustment to let go of that direct communication with Allison's providers. They don't even want to hear from her. They don't even, she doesn't have to sign releases or anything. So it's very odd for her. I'm sure it's difficult. But we did have a question coming from Alicia. I believe that's how we say her name. Curious, how would you manage infusion treatments at college? It's a great question.
Good question.
So I've been getting infusions for a little bit. I guess I've been getting infusions for about a year and a half now, and not my last infusion, but the infusion before that, we were like just trying to figure out if it was working. So there was a lot of like appointments and stuff being made, and like just going back and forth between home and my school. We started looking at hospitals in the area, or just places that I could get my infusions. I'll be switching out of CHOP next year to Penn. Yeah. So there's definitely going to be a lot more options in terms of where I can go and all that. But we're going to find somewhere nearby to do the infusion, so I can drive there myself once I do have my car with me. And it's, yeah.
Yeah. I take rituximab. So that's a twice a year infusion. The main thing, or one of the main things, is that I mentioned before how I kind of created a little network of people up in Rochester, so closer to my college. So I have a neurologist there, and what we kind of said was my neurologist near my college kind of does the med portion. So I've had one infusion during the year there. I think that it wasn't too bad. I just made sure that my professors knew beforehand, and I gave myself like a couple of days to recover. So that's kind of like where all the accommodations come into place as well. I had a few accommodations that were kind of related to the infusion, so giving me extended time on things because I would be tired the day after, things like that. And then the other things that we were trying to do is trying to plan them around breaks. I also get my primary care down at CHOP. So that's pretty far from me. That's, I think, 2.5 hours again from where I live. So, I mean, if you're far from home, you're far from your primary care, definitely getting a specialist up near you. If you need an infusion during the school year, I think definitely helped for sure.
Can I say something on behalf of like accommodations?
Sure.
I'm not sure if this is enforced everywhere, but in my school personally, we had to talk with the teacher before we received with any of our accommodations. There's an email you send to them that has your list of accommodations, but those are not enforced or anything until you like contact the teacher in person. I'm not sure if that like I don't know if Allison, this happened in your school, but like, or this happens, but yeah.
Yeah, I was just told, I was sent the letter accommodation. All I had to do was email my professors that I had for that semester beforehand. I did learn though that, especially closer to my infusion, some of them don't look at it. And so you have to remind them, and they will go ahead and look at it. So I mean, I think that that's probably something that you should also do as well after you email it. Just make sure that they got it, that they looked at it, if you can.
Hmm. I have a couple questions. I was jotting them down as we're going. So I'm thinking of myself when I was in college. So I grew up in South Florida. Unlike the other states, it is always hot here, right? So the fact that you didn't have an air conditioner is mind blowing to me, that anybody could be expected, because everywhere they're visited is still hot during the summer, right? No,
Yeah.
nobody has 50 degrees in the summer. So
No.
I don't know how they would expect anyone to be able to actually function properly in the heat, much less you. So I'm glad that you got that. But my biggest question is, when you meet these new people, these new students, potential friends, when do you tell people that? Like, when do you say I have MS? Can you just keep going and say, I'm just like everybody else? Or do you tell them when you start having symptoms and they're questioning why you're having symptoms? Or do you just ignore it? Because everybody has symptoms of something, right?
Yeah. I would say I told more people when they started asking those kinds of questions. Um, I don't know. Yeah. Like I said before, like with the air conditioner in my room and nobody else having one, people were
Telltale
very like, yeah, people were very like, oh my God, what, like, did you bring that? What did you do? So they were very intrigued. And so I think that
Oh,
that's kind of like when I started telling people.
right.
The one thing that I did want though was, especially with a roommate, like I wanted it to come from me. So I kind of did have a conversation with my roommate, asking her to like, I told her beforehand, before coming to school, that like, oh, I have these issues. Like when you come up and you see that there's an air conditioner, that's why. And she was very respectful of that. So I mean, that is like the one thing that I think is like one of the biggest things for me is that it's coming from me first.
Have
If
either,
people do have questions, yeah.
I'm sorry, have either one of you ever told someone that you had MS at these new schools? And do they ever come back and go, oh, I know somebody that has MS, or my father, or my mother, or my cousin or brother? Has anybody ever said, I know somebody that has it?
Kate's
They
smiling.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, where I live right now, it's not there are a lot more like older people. I feel like it happens more at home than it does at school, because I feel like people at school just like they're confused and they just go, "Oh, okay, I don't know what that is." Anyways, but like here, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there were a few instances of that. But the few instances that I had, they weren't like, oh, like this person, like my grandpa has that and he can't do this and he can't do that. They weren't really like that. I think that some people might have some anxiety around when telling people. But for me personally, like nobody said that. I was able to explain like what I can and cannot do. And they were very respectful of it.
I think both of you said that I know, let's see, I believe Kate still had a roommate at the end, but you were by yourself at the end, but initially, I think Allison, you started with a roommate, right?
Mhm.
So were they respectful of the fact that you might need more sleep and not to be bothered in the middle of the night running out and making all kinds of noise? I mean, were they at least
That
respectful
was
of that?
that was one of the reasons I did move out. Um, they were she wasn't like very um she wasn't like really the person to go out late at night and come back, but there were times where they did. And that was a huge thing. That's one of the main reasons I moved out is because I wasn't getting as much sleep. And I don't think that people understand the magnitude of how important sleep is and a regular sleep cycle is for me or somebody with MS. So that was definitely a challenge. Um, Yeah, for sure.
And for incoming college students or kids who are just looking at going to college, we did find that when we asked at every college that we visited, when we asked about the possibility of Emily being in a private room because of her medical conditions and things that she needed for sleep mostly, I think to a college, everyone said that they could accommodate her.
Yeah, they all said they could accommodate, but there would be an extra charge because
Yep.
you're paying basically for 2 beds
Yeah.
instead of
Yes.
one.
And oftentimes, if she couldn't be in a single in a freshman dorm, she could be in a single in an upper class dorm.
Yeah.
So she might not be with her grade peers. And I don't know what you two have found with that.
Yeah, that's exactly what they told me at first. This past semester, I did have a room in a more like a sophomore dorm. And I mean, we were definitely looking into a single at the beginning of the year, but I think that because I wanted to be with my peers and to meet people like that, that's why I went into a double at first. And then after making those connections, it was definitely an easier transition to move into like a sophomore dorm.
Yeah.
Allison's mom just commented that there was no extra charge at your school for having an individual room. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
wonderful when you're able to find the schools that can work with that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
true. Just out of curiosity, the people that are hired by these universities to work in these accessibility accommodation offices, are they kind? Are they good listeners? Are they the kind of people you would have hoped that worked in those offices? Or was it intimidating to be with them? I mean, were they nice?
Generally, like the people that were in my disability, the DSO by me, they were all nice, but sometimes I don't feel like I'm not gonna say they were like slacking on the job or anything, but I feel like sometimes I would need something and it would take way longer than it should. Like it would take maybe 2 weeks for them to get back to me on like a follow-up email or something like that. And I feel like that is like that's like a common opinion around my campus with a lot of students. Um, and I feel like that it's definitely you definitely have to watch out for those kinds of people because while they're very nice, you need what you need and you need it as soon as possible.
Right.
Advocating for yourself.
Yes. Yes, it's a good way to learn to advocate for yourself when you really need it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I don't see any other than we got some thank yous. That was information very helpful. Let's see here. We'll give it another try and see if anybody else has something to ask.
I have a question let's start with Kate. What's the very best thing about your first year in college?
Honestly, my favorite thing about college was just generally the activities around campus. Like I remember I was really iffy about them at first, but I think the first one I went to is like they did Rocky Horror Picture Show or whatever, and it was just so much fun. And from then on, like I would just go to like random stuff around campus, like whether it's a club I'm in, whether it's like not. It's just really fun to get out and like do stuff. And oftentimes your campus is going to have some really fun stuff. Like we have baby goats on campus like on the regular. Like it's weird how often we have them. It's it's a lot of fun.
That feels so random.
Yes.
It really is.
Just go visit with the baby goats today.
Yep.
Where's the mommy? Where's the mommy?
I guess back at the farm. Sometimes they bring like baby cows and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. Lots of fun.
I'm gonna come visit you.
Yeah, me too.
You should. You should.
Oh, that's so funny. Wow, goats just walking around. Let's see. Maybe Allison can talk about the national program she's in. She's in TRIO. She qualified due to having a chronic illness / disability. It's for those at risk for not graduating. Most colleges have a TRIO program. Thank you, Amy.
Kind of looks like Allison may be frozen.
She does look frozen. Oh,
She's
She's
reconnecting.
connecting.
she's reconnecting. Oh, so from frozen to melted.
There she
There
is.
she is.
I think there we go.
I think you got it. Let's see. Allison, can you hear us? I don't think no, she's definitely not muted. Nope.
Not right
Oh.
now.
Okay, David has a question while she's trying to get back on. Let's unmute David. Hold on a second.
Yes, hi, Deborah and Emily and the whole crew there. I just want to have a comment to say thank you for bringing this on. I love the talk from high school to university, and it's so important for all of the young MSers out there to know that you can make it. You will make it and you can make it. So I like the independence talk, and that is just so important. So thank you so much. And I'm glad to know that you all are talking about it. I was diagnosed at 14 years old, and I went to university in 2001, and I graduated Florida State University in 2005. And so I have that as well. And so the independence is really important. So I'm thankful that you guys talked about that this evening.
Thank you, David. And David's from the Bahamas. He's calling in from. That's where he's watching.
Very cool.
Woo! Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, David.
No problem, Deborah. All right. Y'all have a good one.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Thank you. Nice to hear you again.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh, David comes. He's great. Okay, so let's see. I don't think we have any more questions. That might very well be the end, unless you folks have anything to ask these young ladies in addition to what we've done. I feel like I'm in my living room talking to all of you. It is such a warm, wonderful program. When you all come on, it's so perfect. I just love the fact that it's so casual, that we're having this conversation, not only with these young ladies, but with you. And I feel like I'm in my living room. It's great. So next time I might set my computer up in my living room. So I really feel like I'm in my living room.
And we've got the dog here to join us too.
Yes, you have the dog too. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our time. If you've missed any part of this conference, it has been recorded and it will be available through the MS Focus Facebook and YouTube channels. Reply to your registration email for information on how to access recordings or sign up for our newsletter to learn about upcoming events. Our next teleconference will be tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Now, the speaker is Dr. Augusto Miravalle, who's going to be doing his entire presentation in Spanish for those MS clients who either prefer hearing Spanish or don't speak English. So it's going to be wonderful. If you know anybody that does need that, it's a wonderful program tomorrow. So the Monday, which is coming up, the 22nd at 4 o'clock in the afternoon will be the next one. And that's going to be Dr. Herb Karpatkin. He's going to once again be with us answering all your PT questions. He's a doctor of physical therapy. He's wonderful. And for 1 hour, we will blast him with every single question that you have. And he really tries to get through all of them. So you can come to that one. That's called Ask the Physical Therapist. As you leave the conference today, a survey will appear on the screen. We ask you to please take a moment to give us your feedback on this program and your suggestions for future topics, because we really want to provide you the best and the most meaningful programs that exist. So if you help us with that, we can keep adding good ones. So our sincere thanks to all of our attendees for your participation, and especially to the Mr. Oscar Monkey team. Thanks to all 4 of you for so much for sharing this information. And I'm going to say good night to everyone. Thank you, thank you. You guys can say goodbye too. It's okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was lovely to talk to everyone.
It
Oh,
really
it's so
was.
good to see you too.
Good luck in school. Good luck in your summer. Have fun. Keep cool. God, no air conditioner. I think I'm going to think about that for the rest of my life. How does anybody function without an air conditioner? Anyway, everybody, have a wonderful time, and thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be great. And for anybody that needs to see this afterwards, they're going to be able to see it on YouTube. So on Facebook, YouTube, it'll be wonderful content for people that weren't able to make it. So thank you for giving that to us also. Speak to you soon.